I welcome you all after this short break. I now, on behalf of AISG 46, extend a warm welcome to Ms. Manisha Sandhu ma'am, our resource person for this session. With a rich teaching and learning experience of more than 15 years in the field of accountancy and business studies, ma'am is associated with Amity since 2014. Along with the degrees of BCom, MCom, B.Ed, ma'am is also an MBA and has qualified HTET exam. We welcome you, ma'am, with this virtual sapling.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I request Manisha ma'am to kindly take over.
Thank you, Neeti, ma'am.
Manisha ma'am, all the participants are there now.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes. Good morning, all of you, all present here. Myself, Manisha, as being introduced by Neeti, ma'am, and I would be presenting today's PDP on the next three chapters. And of course, it was a wonderful learning for me uh, in the morning through Rana sir and the various other PDPs or the workshops which we are attending or seminars conducted by our colleagues are really wonderful, and it's a lot of learning for all of us. And I would just like to say it here particularly that the PDP program which was conducted by Naveen sir, in which we learned about how to make an average child or a lower achiever better in the class. Out of all the workshops which I have attended till date of my subject, I think that was a very, you know, I mean, I can say pristine kind of information given to us. So it's a great learning for me after joining Amity here, and
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
most welcome, sir. And in fact, you had already covered these topics which are given to me for today's PDP. And I hope I am trying to, I mean, I just make a bit of contribution towards it.
Definitely, madam. Definitely.
Thank you, sir. We are going to first of all take up the topics which are related to partnership accounts, that is fundamentals. Under fundamentals, we will be including various concepts which are quite confusing or can make error occurring while solving the questions for the students. So under that, we will study about tests of partnership. Then under the act, what are the various provisions given to us, and about the appropriation of profits, then past adjustments, interest on capital, interest on drawings, guarantee to the partner and all. And I have also tried to include one case-based question over here. And in between, I have tried to include some activities in which, if you want, you can participate. They are very simple, and I have kept it to, very basic level. Now, under test of partnership, we need to teach the students, first of all, that under which act they are studying in the Indian Partnership Act. And accordingly, we go for the various theoretical aspects which are attached to it, and they help in further solving the questions, not only the practical questions, but theoretical objective type questions also. So we include all these basic information in our theoretical aspect, that there should be at least two persons. Then number of partners in a firm cannot be more than 50. And we also talk about agreement. Now under agreement, it is very important for us to just make it very clear to the students that the agreement, if it is there, then it could be oral as well as written. And if the agreement does not exist, what could be the various situations given in the questions, and the children have to give their analysis and solve their questions on the basis of it. So basic features and the various kinds of agreements, oral or written, the partnership deed, we discuss all that in detail in the theoretical aspect. Then in while teaching partnership here from theory point of view, we include this basic definition, and from this definition itself, we can conclude to the various aspects of solving the questions. Like partnership is a relationship between persons who have agreed to share the profits of a business carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. Now a student can ask me that why only profits term is mentioned here and why not the losses included along with it. Then in that case, we are supposed to tell them that in certain cases, in certain forms of partnership, there are partners who only agree to share the profits and not the losses with them. That is why in this partnership, which in this definition of partnership, only profit word has been mentioned. Now, once the child is known with these basic concepts of partnership deed and various features of partnership, we can ask them a very simple question as it is there in front of you. Ankur and Burman had spare amount with which they purchased a house and later sold it at a profit. They again purchased another house but could not sell it during the year itself. Now, many a times we stress upon the very difficult aspects of the questions and the adjustments related to it, but we forget about these basic concepts because the child who is below average might not be able to justify the answer. So in that case, such kind of questions, I think from theoretical point of view, we discuss in the class. So are Ankur and Burman into the business? Of course, the answer would be no, as they are not regularly engaged in any kind of business activity. Then another similar kind of question. Two people have purchased a two-story house, each to occupy a floor. After 2 years, they decided to sell the house and buy two independent houses for living. Again, these kind of transactions must be kept in front of student because now the case-based questions have started coming in our CBSE exams. So if they are not clear with the theoretical language that is it actually a case of partnership or not, so if they are sure about these basic concepts, of course, they can further solve the questions. So here, Chaman and Daman are not into the partnership as again, they have just ended up with a small transaction done by them. Then there are various provisions of partnership related to Partnership Act 1932, which are applicable in the absence of partnership. Now, this case, the cases which are discussed in the absence of partnership are of quite relevance to us. Reason being, here the children's analytical decision making, their thinking has been developed. How much reasoning they can provide to their answers, and of course, we are going to discuss a few case-based questions also here, where the child has to take a decision that the partnership deed is there or not there, even while doing the adjustments related to change in TSR or providing interest on capital or interest on drawings, whatever calculations we are doing, the profit sharing ratio itself which is involved here. I mean, whatever they are doing, it has to be first of all checked by the student, the deed is present there or not. Now, if it has not been decided upon the rate of interest on capital or interest on drawings, salary or commission, or if any item particularly is a charge against profit or not, all those things, of course, we do tell the students generally in the class. Now, what they can do and what they can not do in the absence of partnership deed. So we go as per the Indian Partnership Act 1932. A partner cannot be admitted unless all the partners agree. And interest on loan, of course, it is at 6% per annum, always provided in the absence of partnership deed. Now, interest of is allowed on loan by a partner. Now, this is one place where most of the students in the class are making mistake. I am unable to understand because when we were used to, actually teach physically in the class, this point we kept on repeating and we asked them to solve the questions there in front of us. But now since online classes are going on, and of course I have told them about this theoretical aspect that interest is allowed at 6% per annum in the absence of partnership deed. But many a times the students are not able to understand the difference between loan by the partner to the firm or firm has provided loan to the partner. And another mistake which is generally made by them over here is the per annum term. And even some of the students I have found finding difficulty in deciding upon whether it is interest on loan, or I mean, they keep it anywhere. They keep it in the interest on drawings also and interest on capital also. So this thing has to be I mean, stressed upon while solving the questions, that interest on loan will only be provided at 6% per annum. Interest is not charged on loan by the firm to the partner. Remuneration is not allowed to the partners in the absence of partnership deed. Interest is not allowed on partners' capital. Interest is not charged on drawings by partners. Profit and losses are shared equally in the absence of partnership deed. So these are the basic concepts which we explain to them. And after that, we start solving the questions, practical questions. Now, there is another term which is appropriation and charge against the profit. This is very important to understand for the students, that what is charge against profit. It means an expense that has to be incurred whether the firm earns profit or incurs losses during the year. That means we are going to just keep it as a component of profit and loss account, and it leads to determining correct profit or loss for the year. This is important to understand because in the questions of past adjustments, or while calculating the goodwill by average profit method or any other method, they need to adjust these amounts which were actually a charge against the profit, and then start solving the question. So examples for charge against profit could be rent, electricity expenses, depreciation, amortization, salaries to employees, and managers' commission, etc. Now, as we specifically talk about managers' commission, it is paid as a fixed amount. That means it does not change rapidly. Then a percentage of net profit, and after that, it could be partly as a fixed amount and partly as a percentage of net profit. Now, it is payable in any manner, whether fixed amount or percentage of net profit, as a charge against profit, because manager is an employee of the enterprise. Now, many a time students are confused with this concept, that we are providing commission to the partner also, and this is the commission which we are paying to a manager. So manager, being an employee of the firm, is paid like a charge against the profit. So this is one concept where the children do confuse. Another important concept here is rent. Now, many a times we are hiring the property from the owner itself. Owner being a partner himself. Now, owner being a partner is letting us use his property area. Now, rent paid or payable to a partner is a charge against the profit. This thing the students need to understand, like even if he's a partner, but the expense, which is rent, is paid on his property. And another mistake which students are making here is that if the rent, we have to make this point clear to the students, if rent would be paid to the partner, then of course it will become the part of his capital account. But we do not have to take it. For that, we need to explain them with a reason to them. Now, rent is paid to a partner because of using his personal property for business. Rent is not paid to him as a partner, but is paid as the owner of the property. So if we would have not taken this property of partner, we would have let it out from someone else. So the common mistake which is made over here, which can be corrected by the students, is that if rent is not paid during the year and is payable, it should be credited to rent payable account. Now, this rent payable account is the outstanding liability which is standing for this year against the expense which was not paid by us, and it is not transferred to partner's capital account. This thing we can explain to them, that by giving this example, that if rent is to be provided or transferred to the partner's capital account, then on partner's capital amount we are providing interest on capital. That means we will also have to pay interest on rent as well if we transfer this amount of rent payable to the partner in his capital account. Another concept which confuses the children is interest on loan by the partner to the firm. Now, interest on loan by the partner to the firm. Again, I told you children get confused with this language. I mean, the children who are reading the question in a hurry many a times forget to treat it even. So if the rate of interest is neither agreed nor is stated in the partnership deed, it has always to be 6% per annum. When the per annum word is written here, we check the number of months or duration for which the loan was provided by the partner to the firm. Now, the Partnership Act does not prescribe the rate of interest on loan given by the firm to the partner. And in the absence of partnership deed or the clause being not in deed, provision of the Partnership Act 1932 applies, according to which we do the calculations for it. Now, interest on loan by the firm to the partner, for this we can make them understand this concept by passing the journal entry. Interest on loan given by the firm to the partner, if it is not received, is debited to his capital or current account. And the journal entry for interest received would be bank account debit or partner's capital or current account debit to interest on loan to partner's capital and current account. Now, profit and loss appropriation account, which we prepare, which is an important book to be prepared at the time of preparing all the accounts. It is an account prepared to do the appropriation of net profit of the firm among the partners or to their, serves as per the terms of the partnership deed or as the partners agree. That means if there are any profit sharing ratio decided amongst them, the rate of interest on capital is decided upon them by them, interest on drawings or salary or commission, that is an appropriation which is made out of the net profit which is earned by the firm during the year. Now here it is also important to check the divisible profits after the appropriation amongst the partners is made. That means in the profit sharing ratio, we have to distribute the profits amongst all the partners, which is further transferred to the partner's capital account. But many a times it might be the case that the profit is not adequate to meet the appropriations. In that case, if the profit is not adequate to meet the appropriations, appropriation is made up to the amount of available profit. Now here the entire amount of available profit is distributed in the particular proportion in which the profits was to be received by them. This is the format which we explain in the class for profit and loss appropriation account. On the debit side, we are transferring the losses. On the credit side, the profits. Then interest on capital is debited to P&L appropriation. Interest on drawings are credited. Partner salary and commission is provided to them. And in case the partnership deed agrees for this, then the reserves, if they are created out of the profits available, they are also put on the debit side of it. And losses are put on the credit side of P&L appropriation. I think these are the very basic general information which you all already know, and this is not very tough thing to understand. I have included a small activity over here. So it's a small game which we can play over here if you all agree.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Sir, to
Yes,
keep
ma'am.
the students busy in the online classes, we just include these kind of games over here. So which of the following is not dealt through profit and loss appropriation account? After teaching the concepts related to the partnership deed or its absence and the format of P&L appropriation account, I have specifically included this question being a negative question. So by giving a negative question, we can again check the analytical thinking of the child over here. Which of the following is not dealt through the P&L appropriation account?
Yeah, it will be A, ma'am.
Interest on partner's loan.
Option A, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. A manager, it's 3 or 4. Yes. Which of the following items will not be shown in the debit of profit and loss appropriation account?
B, ma'am.
So we've already. Interest on drawings is the right answer. Not shown on the debit side, it was written. Next question. A manager gets 5% commission on net profit after charging such commission. Gross profit is 5,80,000. Expenses of indirect nature other than manager's commission are 1,60,000. Commission amount will be
B.
Is it 20,000?
20,000. All right, sir. That's the right answer. Thank you so much. This is the last question. When guarantee is given to partner by some partners, deficiency on such guarantee will be borne by
C.
C, ma'am.
partner who gave the guarantee. Okay,
Option C.
that's the right answer. Thank you so much. Now I have included one small question in which we are discussing about the net profit when it is inadequate for appropriations. Here we have 3 partners, Amrit, Bimal and Hari. They are the partners sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 5:3:2 with capitals of 5 lakh each. Profit for the year ended is 2,10,000. Manager's commission yet to be allowed is 5% of net profit after charging his commission. Drawings by each partner was 1 lakh. Partnership deed provides as follows. That means in the question, deed is present. That is the first thing which the students need to check while solving the question. And what it says, Amrit and Bimal both get salary of 75,000 per annum. Hari will get commission at 12.5% of net profit. Interest on capital is to be allowed at 5% per annum. Interest on drawings is to be charged at 10% per annum. Prepare profit and loss appropriation account for this year. Now, net profit is given to me. That means we can allow all these things to the partners. So looking at its solution, net profit for the year is first of all calculated by deducting the amount of manager's commission because it's a charge against the profit which we have already discussed. So this charge has to be deducted from the net profit which is given for the year, and then we will make the appropriations to the partners. Many a times children do forget about making these adjustments. So I mean, step by step we need to take the questions in which first we are taking the very basic questions and then moving towards such adjustments. Now appropriations as per the partnership deed and the amounts which were mentioned in the question. Salary has been provided to the partners. 2 were promised for it. Commission is 12.5% of net profit. That is 25,000. Interest on capital, 25,000 each. Total appropriations made would be 1 lakh, 1 lakh and 50,000. Now new ratio of distribution has been given to here because the profit is insufficient. Net profit is 2 lakh and the amount which has to be appropriated amongst the partners would be 2,50,000. So this total appropriation of 2,50,000, since it is not possible for us to distribute it amongst the partners, we are going to just take the ratio of these profits which would have been credited to their capitals account. So 100, 150, I mean 2:2:1 is the main proportion which we need to decide upon here in which the profit will be distributed. Interest on drawings is 5,000 for each partner. That will be adjusted. So for profit and loss appropriation account, loss by profit and loss account, we have kept the amount of 2 lakh over here by deducting the amount of commission. Then interest on drawings were given to us in the question. 15,000 is total amount. So 2,15,000 is appropriated amongst the partners in the proportion which was 2:1 for us.
Manisha,
So,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, just one thing. Students many times ask that how to show this on the debit side. I mean, can you move to the previous slide once?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Like for some partners, it is interest on capital. For others, it is salary and interest on capital. And for others, it is commission and interest on capital. Sometimes
Yes.
students ask that do we need to show in such kind of question separately
See,
in
ma'am,
the
this
profit
is
and loss appropriation account?
no, in the profit and loss appropriation account, they can directly show the solution like this. But this is a kind of working note which can be prepared by the students.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
The working note itself, they can show it. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next common mistake which is made by the students is related to the partner's remuneration. Now, it is an appropriation and not a charge against the profit. So, on one side we are teaching them commission and other side is remuneration. So these are similar terms. Many a time students get confused between these two. So if paid, it is paid as a percent of net profit or sale. It is a charge against the profit. That means we have to deduct it out of the total net profit amount if it has not been adjusted earlier, or appropriation of profits. Sorry, partner's remuneration, whether paid as fixed salary or as a percentage of net profit or sale, is an appropriation, not a charge against the profit. So unless remuneration is stated to be a charge, it is to be paid whether the firm earns profit or incurs loss. It is an appropriation of profit. When I say appropriation of profit, here charge and charge and appropriation have to be clearly understood to the students, because if the same item is treated as an appropriation but it becomes a charge, or it has to be deducted from the P&L if it is mentioned in the question specifically that it is a charge against the profit. Another important topic with this, which I mean in every case or in every question students are getting to solve, is interest on capital. Interest is allowed on capital that remains invested in the business during the year. And there are certain cases related to it which we take example wise in our classes regularly. Like if the opening capital remains unchanged during the year, if further capital is introduced by the partners, then of course we ask the students to check that whatever further capital has been introduced by them, for how much duration did it remain invested in the firm, and we could calculate interest on capital on that particular time duration for which it was there. And if the capital is withdrawn, that means the drawings are made against the capital, then in that case also we discuss the various practical questions in the class. But if the drawings are made against the profit, then it is why is interest charged on drawings against profit? Reason being that it is a charge because the partnership deed provides for charging interest. That means the deed itself says that it has to be charged against the profit, and it is drawings against anticipated profit for the year. Now this term is anticipated profit. This term has to be made clear to the students over here, as we need to tell them that if this drawings against profit would not have been made by that particular partner, that amount of profit would have been distributed amongst all the partners, or it would have been used for creating reserves or for any purpose of reinvestment in the firm itself. Now, how is interest on drawings calculated? For that, we have a set of methods. Amount of drawing and date of drawing is uniform, then of course we follow the average method. And if the amount of drawing and period of drawing is not uniform, we go with the product method. And for various issues which the children are facing while calculating of interest on drawings is charge for the period amount remains withdrawn by a partner. That means for that particular duration only for which the amount was withdrawn by the partner from the firm, for that duration only it will be charged. Then average method of calculating interest on drawings is applied when both amount of drawings and date of withdrawal are uniform. For that, we just give examples that it is withdrawn on every first day of every month, or on at the end of every month, or in the middle of every month. So accordingly, the amount which they have withdrawn throughout the year also remains the same. That case also we check that whether it is done uniformly for the whole financial year or for few months, or if it is half yearly, and or it could be the case of quarterly basis also. Product method of calculating interest on drawings is applied when amount of drawings or date of withdrawal is not uniform. That means irregular drawings are made by the partners. And in average method, period for which interest on drawings is to be calculated as follows. This is a very important formula which we of course teach in the class, and we just make it sure that children are learning it by heart. That is time left after first drawing plus time left after last drawing divided by 2, which helps them in calculating the average method, a period for that. Taken one small question here, a small example in front of you. Ramesh withdraws 10,000 on the first day of every month. Calculate interest on drawings if rate of interest is 10% per annum. Now, period for which interest has to be will be charged is calculated over here. Time left after first drawing plus time left after last drawing divided by 2. Total amount of drawings. Now, this is a very simple mistake which an average child in the beginning makes it. Once the children are thorough with the questions, practice a lot, after that this concept is clear to them. But in the beginning, children are unable to calculate the total amount of drawings. That means this is one thing which needs to be highlighted when we are teaching this concept, that it is not this amount which is completely withdrawn by the partner. He is withdrawing it on the first day of every month. So to calculate the total amount of interest on drawings, the total amount of drawings must be present with us. In a year, all 12 months are there, and in the beginning of every month, he has made this amount of drawing. So period for which interest will be charged is period time after the last first drawing plus time left after the last drawing divided by 2, which makes it 6.5. In this way, we make a chart in the class and we just elaborate it in front of them that, in the beginning of every month, if it is there, at the end of every month, it is there, or in the middle of every month. Then on quarterly basis also, it is in the beginning of every quarter, middle of every quarter, or at the end of every quarter. Same way we do the calculations for 6 months as well. So interest on drawings, we calculate for the average period basis, and the rate is of course mentioned here. And the important thing which children many a times forget is the total drawings which are made by the partner. Achal withdraws 10,000 on the first day of every month for 6 months. Ending September 2019, calculate interest on drawings for the year ended 31st March if rate of interest is 10% per annum. Now here in this case also, I need to calculate the period for which the interest will be charged. The first day of every month for 6 months, ending September 2019. Now here the student will have to check the number of months, exact months for which the interest on drawings will be calculated by him. So if it is ending on September, then from which month it will be starting, he needs to check it first. So April, May, June, July, August, September. So April to September, he has to make the calculations. So after April, he is making the April to September we are taking here. After April, it is first day, so it's 1st April. After 1st of April, how much duration is left after the first drawing? That is 12 months. Now, there is a little bit of confusion which comes in the minds of the students. As we see it in T.S. Grewal, he is using, if it is only done for 6 months, then he is only considering that 6th month as the last month for drawing. So that we need to make it clear over here to the students that it is essential for us to check the entire 12 months duration as we are talking about the whole financial year over here. That is how the period for which the interest will be charged is to be calculated. And again, the same formula we apply, that is the total drawings which are made by the partner, rate, and the average period. Now, that same calculation for the interest on drawings, I mean, the children can have a confusion that would our answer remain same if we are making the calculations through this average period method or through the product method. In that situation, we can just make them understand by citing this example in the class. I mean, for the same question, I have chosen this another method also, an alternative method also. And the calculation of interest on drawings is same for both the cases. Like with the product method also, it is 4,750. And for this method, with the average period method also, it is 4,750. That means the actual amount remains same. The method does not does not change the result, final outcome of it. Okay, there is a small activity here. It's drag and drop activity involving a few questions for you. So if you would like to answer. Time left after first drawing plus time left after last.
Ma'am,
Yes.
average period.
Average method. Then amount of drawings and date of withdrawal are uniform.
Ma'am, product method.
Product method. Then amount of drawings or date of withdrawal is not uniform.
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am, I think there is
Opposite, ma'am.
ma'am. Oh, that is
Yes. Then product method.
So product
yes,
method.
System.
This one is correct.
Ma'am, first and second.
Average, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, this is a case-based question I have taken. Now, recently it was introduced by CBSE, and they had given some examples also for that. So I have taken one out of them. Amit and Mahesh were partners in a fast food corner, sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 3:2. They sold fast food items across the counter and did home delivery too. Their initial fixed capital contribution was 1,20,000 and 80,000 respectively. At the end of first year, their profit was 1,20,000 before allowing the remuneration of 3,000 per quarter to Amit and 2,000 per half yearly to Mahesh. Such a promising performance for first year was encouraging. Therefore, they decided to expand the area of operations. For this purpose, they needed a delivery van, a few scooties, and additional person to support. 6 months into the accounting year, they decided to admit Sundaram as a new partner and offered him 20% as a share of profits, along with monthly remuneration of 2,500. Sundaram was asked to introduce 1,30,000 for capital and 70,000 for premium for goodwill. Besides this, Sundaram was required to provide rupees 1 lakh as loan for 2 years. Sundaram readily accepted the offer. Now, in this whole case study, as we can see as teachers, that the calculations or the concepts which are learned by the students, they all are implemented. So here the child must understand this thing, that the theoretical language or the case is created to just make a story over here. If you actually look at the information which is provided in these stories or these cases, they are involving all the basic concepts of calculation for the interest in drawing, salary or commission, or interest in capital, and those basic things, those basic concepts, which are learned by the students, they only need to be implemented to give answers to these case-based questions. So if in the beginning, if the child gets worries about these questions, then one thing should be made clear to him, that whatever concepts are learned by him for the chapter, they only are going to be implemented in them. On the basis of this case-based questions, on the basis of this case study, following are the questions. Remuneration will be transferred to dash of Amit and Mahesh at the end of the accounting period. So remuneration, where do we transfer? It will be transferred to the current account. Now here the child will have to look that they are partners, they sold across counter delivery. Now initial fixed capital contribution. From these kind of information, they will have to make a decision related to the answer solving. Because of fixed capital contribution, the amount of remuneration will be transferred to the current account. Then upon the admission of Sundaram, the sacrifice for providing his share of profits would be done by Amit only, by Mahesh only, by Amit and Mahesh equally, or by Amit and Mahesh in the ratio of 3:2. So again, for checking this information, the student can go back to the case study and he will have to derive an answer from the statements which are given in the question. If you could just read and find it and tell me. So, upon the admission of Sundaram, the sacrifice for providing his share of profit would be done by Amit and Mahesh in the ratio of 3:2. Why it would be in the ratio of 3:2?
Because the relative ratio between the partners is not changing.
Yes. So this concept we are teaching them, that if old partners profit sharing ratio and new partners share is given, in that case the sacrificing ratio remains same. So the same concept has been applied in these case studies also. Next question says, Sundaram will be entitled to a remuneration of dash at the end of the year. Now remuneration is 15,000, which was already decided. Monthly remuneration of 2,500. It was already provided to us in the question. So all the questions which are asked in these kind of case studies would be based on the information given in these case studies, and they will have to just apply the concepts which they have learned while preparing these accounts. Now, while taking up the accounting procedure for this reconstitution, the accountant of the firm, Mr. Suraj Marwaha, faced a difficulty. Solve it by answering the following. For the amount of loan that Sundaram has agreed to provide, he is entitled to interest thereon at the rate of. Now here child will have to just focus upon it, whether the deed has been given or not, and if it is given, then what is the rate decided by them. So the answer would be 6% per annum. Reason being, in the question there is it's not clearly see, besides this, Sundaram was required to provide 1 lakh as loan for 2 years. Sundaram readily accepted the offer. Now here the question is not asking about the amount of the interest on loan. They are only asking about the rate. So in the absence of partnership deed, the rate is 6% per annum, which is learned by the students. So all the basic information or the conceptual learning which is happening at the time of learning the chapter, they only are applied over here. Now, next topic related to this is past adjustments. Past adjustments include specifically related to interest on capital, interest on drawings, salary and profit sharing ratios. Now, reasons for adjustments, the child must ask you that why we are making these entries. Then we can say that it is to rectify the errors and omissions committed in the past. In 11th standard also, they have already studied the chapter of rectification of errors. So again, we can just cite them this example that of course there also, if we missed out on some entries, we missed out on some amounts or wrong amounts were entered in the accounts, how the adjustments were made. Similarly, here also the adjustments need to be made for that purpose. Now, without amending the financial statements of that year, we have to pass these entries. I have picked up one question for you. A and B are partners in a firm, sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 3:2. Capitals were 10 lakh and 5 lakh respectively. Following errors were committed during the year. Interest on drawings is to be charged at 10% per annum, but was not charged. Interest on drawings for A and B was 10,000 and 5,000 respectively. The amounts are given to us in the question. Remuneration was credited to A and B for 50,000 and 40,000 instead of 30,000 each. So again, interest on capital was to be allowed at 5% per annum. It was completely omitted by us. That means now it will have to be provided. Respective capitals as on 1st April were 10 lakh and 4 lakh. Divisible profit for the year ended 31st March 2019 was of rupees 80,000, distributed between the partners equally. That means we have already distributed this amount of profit in the ratio of 1:1 amongst them. We have to pass the necessary adjustment entry to rectify the error. Now, normally students do this question or we generally teach this question with the debit and credit method, that whatever amounts were already distributed amongst the partners, they will be taken back as the profits were distributed equally. So 40,000 was provided. Now it will be taken back. So we debit it from the partner's capital account and credit it to the firm. Interest on drawings, which is now to be provided, will be provided to the partners and will be charged from the partners, sorry. Remuneration, which is access, 20,000 and 10,000. Interest on capital, by calculating it, we will credit it to the partner's capital account. Now, these kind of questions can also be taught with the plus minus method. That means whatever amount is to be provided to the partners, that will be first added to their accounts, and whatever has to be taken back, that is just adjusted with the subtracting from that final amount. So,
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes, sir.
What was the amount of drawing in the question?
Interest on drawings was to be charged at 10%, but was not charged at all.
So these are the amounts directly given?
Yes, sir, they are directly given in the questions. The students are not required to calculate it.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. So, in these kind of questions, if the students are also required to pass the journal entry, then we must make this concept clear over here, that if something was wrongly credited to their account, that has to be debited now. For that, the entries which would be passed are as follows. First of all, profit was already credited to them, their capital accounts. Now that has to be debited back. So the entry becomes A's capital account debit, B's debit to profit and loss adjustment account. These adjustments we are making through the profit and loss adjustments account only. That is why P&L adjustment account is credited. And the amount of interest on drawings which was charged from the partners. Ma'am, somebody's mic is unmuted, I think.
Done, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. A's capital account, B's capital account debited with the to profit and loss adjustment account. Now, this entry is related to the interest on drawings, which is charged from the partners. A's capital debit, B's capital debit. For excess remuneration which was allowed to them has now been withdrawn. So excess amount, by that excess amount only we have debited the partners' capital accounts. Profit and loss adjustments account debited with 70,000 to A and B's capital. This is the amount of interest on capital which was missed upon by us and has been provided now. Profit and loss adjustments account debited to A's capital, B's capital. This is the amount of profit which will be now distributed or provided to the partners after making the adjustments related to the mistakes made by them earlier. So this question was picked up by me just to show these journal entries, which should also be, could be asked in the board exams. These are not generally asked, but board can, sometimes change its pattern and ask for these entries. Guarantee of profit. Guarantee is given to a partner or to the firm. Now, when it is given to the firm, it's by the partner himself, which will assure it to the firm that they make that much of profit. But if it is given to a partner by the firm, then it is either given by all the partners or by one or more partners. So how will it be provided? It will be provided in the profit sharing ratio or in an agreed ratio. Suppose we have ABC 3 partners, and D is one who has been given the guarantee about it. Then we need to see that in what proportion that guarantee has been given. Any agreed ratio has been already decided by them or not. And if specifically one or two or more than two partners are giving a guarantee, then if borne by more than one by one partner, then it has to be in an agreed ratio, or a certain specific portion of his profits, or the uh, proportion has to be mentioned over there. Now, guarantee of profit to a partner by all the partners. Deficiency of profit is guaranteed profit, which is given, amount of guarantee which was given to the partner, less actual profit share which he is receiving. That will give us the amount of deficiency in profit share, and it will be borne by all the remaining partners. It may be borne by all the partners in their profit sharing ratio or in an agreed ratio. So the journal entry would be guaranteeing partners capital account debited to guaranteed partners capital account. The one who is receiving in his capital account the amount of deficiency, his capital account is credited, and the people who are giving him or covering up his deficiency amount, compensating him for that, then those guaranteeing partners capital accounts are debited. Now, guarantee of profit to a partner by one or more partners. I think we have repeated this slide, sorry. Yes, it's the same slide. Next topic, yes, next topic which is to be included here is goodwill. So we will discuss a few topics, or the few common errors or mistakes which could be made by the students while studying goodwill. So in the beginning of the chapter, we tell them about the meaning of it. We tell them about the various features which are related to goodwill. So these are the quite features which are mentioned over here on the slide. Now, there are few errors which are made by the students. And one such question which was asked by CBSE is the need for valuation of goodwill. The students had to tell the various cases when the need for valuation of goodwill arises. In that situation, the child needs to answer about these all various cases, like when the change in profit sharing ratio is there, admission, retirement, death, dissolution of partnership is happening, or the firm is sold as a going concern, or amalgamation amongst two or three firms is happening, or a partnership firm is converted into a company. That time also the valuation for goodwill is required. Further, we talk about the classification of goodwill. It can be classified as purchased goodwill and self-generated goodwill. Now, purchased goodwill is important here to be taught, because we again keep on emphasizing that purchased goodwill is the one for which the consideration has been paid, and it is only recorded in the books of accounts. Now, how does this purchased goodwill emerge? It could be because of the result of development phase, or arise only when running business is purchased. Capital expenditure or development expenditure has been made by us to purchase the goodwill of some other firm, shown under the head or fixed tangible asset. That is the presentation of purchased goodwill. Where do we present it in the balance sheet? It is shown under the head of fixed tangible assets. Now, calculation of purchased goodwill we make by passing the journal entries, in which assets and liabilities we check the balances. If the liabilities are more than the assets, then the balancing figure comes out to be the amount of goodwill to us. I have not included that journal entry over here. I have included a few more practical questions related to it, which I'll be further showing to you. And in the self-generated goodwill, we need to make these points very much clear to the students that they are not shown in the balance sheet, can be calculated by using various methods like average profit method, super profit method, and capitalization method. Then it is self-generated goodwill is used to calculate share of new partner when a new partner is admitted. We need to calculate the premium of goodwill which he needs to bring to the firm. For that, we will need to value the goodwill. And if the partner is retiring, or for the calculation of deceased partner's share. Then under the methods of valuation, we talk about average method, average profit method, super profit method, and capitalization method. Now, under average profit method, we broadly classify this whole calculation into 3 steps. That is, calculate adjusted profits, calculate average profits, and then we calculate goodwill by multiplying adjusted average profit into number of years purchased. Now, the important thing to be discussed over here is that complete treatment of these items for valuation of goodwill. That means many a times when the information is given to us in the question, it involves certain mistakes which needs to be rectified, out of which the first one is overvaluation of stock. Now, overvaluation of closing stock should be deducted as it has increased the profit. So these things we need to cite with an example in the class, and just make them learn the adjustments done in the practical questions also. Next year it should be added as it decreased the profit of that year. So in the next year it would be added, and it is deducted in the year when the overvaluation of closing stock was done in that same year. I have taken up an example for that. Profit for 31st March 2020 was 1 lakh, which include overvaluation of closing stock for rupees 10,000. And profit for the year 31st March 2021 was 80,000. Now year 2021 profit was 80,000, and for previous year 2020 it was 1 lakh. So in 2020, which includes the overvaluation of closing stock, it will be subtracted from that year. So that will make it 1 lakh minus 10, equivalent to 90,000 for that year, to be taken as the amount of profit for making the calculations further. And in the year 31st March 2021, profit which stood at 80,000, that would include this amount of overvalued stock in 2021. So the profit which will be used for calculations for that year would become 80 plus 10, 90,000 rupees. There are other items also which needs to be adjusted for calculation of this. Out of them, one is undervaluation of closing stock. Now here in the previous case it was overvaluation. Now we have undervalued the closing stock. First of all, it would be added in the first year in which it was undervalued, as it has decreased the profit of the year, and next year it should be deducted as it has increased the profit of that year. Again, taken one small example, profit for 31st March was 2 lakh, including undervaluation of closing stock of 20,000, and profit for the year 31st March was 2 lakh 50. So in the first year it is added, and in the second year it would be subtracted. So this needs to be made very clear to the students by citing these small examples, so that they do not make final calculations wrong. Another doubt which occurs here is remuneration payable to the partner. Now it should be deducted from the average profit if it is without mentioning the year. The specific year is not mentioned and the question says that remuneration is payable to the partner, it is still outstanding. So in that case, we will subtract it from the average profit. But if it is specifically related to a year, then it should be deducted from that year's profit only and not from the average profit. So this is one matter which needs to be clearly stated while solving these questions. Abnormal loss. We all know various kinds of abnormal losses due to fire, theft, or accidents occur in the business. So they are included in the profit, that is added back to the profit, excluded from the profits, then no effect would be there. That means if they are not mentioned and they are not being used for the assessment, then in that case no effect will be there. But in case they are mentioned that during this year profit was this much and then there was an abnormal loss of this nature, then that amount of abnormal loss needs to be added back to the profit. And if we have some gains, now gains means any irregular income or revenue generation happening to us, then included in it is for including it in the profit, it is subtracted from the profit. It was not belonging to the actual income of the firm. That is why it is going to be subtracted from the profit. And if it is excluded from the profit, then of course there will be no effect. Major repair treated as expense, then it is added back to the profit. Many a times this happens that the repair of a plant and machinery which included a very huge cost and it was actually affecting the performance of the assets in the firm. So that should be added back to the profit. In this way, the various terms which are or adjustments which are given along with the profit of each and every year, they needs to be assessed. Related to this chapter, I have put a small puzzle. I'll just show you. Yes, I mean this is one activity which we can do in the class to keep them busy. I mean, small worksheet or an assignment this can be given to the students, but because many a times students are not studying the theoretical portion and they are unable to answer the objective type questions. So this is one activity included over here. I'll share this with you later on, or would you like to read it and answer a few questions if you want?
Ma'am, first one is intangible asset.
First one is intangible, yes sir. This is first one.
Ma'am, second one, is it goodwill?
Excess amount which the firm can get on selling its assets over and above the saleable value of its assets are goodwill.
Third one, ma'am, profit show trend.
Weighted average method of calculated goodwill is used when? Yes, ma'am. What was your answer?
When weights are given. When
Yes?
weights are given. When weights are given.
Weights are given.
When
weights are given.
profits show a trend, ma'am.
वही होगा मैम जो profit show trend होगा.
Profit show a trend, correct.
Either increasing or decreasing.
When there is a change in the current partners association that results in ending the existing agreement and initiate a formation of new agreement is known as?
It should be reconstitution of partnership.
Sir, it will be revaluation.
Reconstitution.
Reconstitution of the firm.
Okay. So, reconstitution of the firm. Investments that are made to earn income.
Non-trade investments.
Non-trade investments. All right. Then average of the profit of past agreed years is known as?
Average profit.
Average profit.
All right. Land, building, plant and machinery are examples of?
Tangible.
Tangible assets.
Tangible.
Fixed assets can also be there.
But that option I think is not.
See, goodwill is defined as intangible assets, so it will be tangible. We can take it like this. Super profit. Super profit is equal to average profit less
Normal profit.
Normal profit.
Right. Then expenses expected to be incurred to earn profits are deducted to determine normal expected profit for valuation of
Goodwill.
goodwill. Goodwill is used again over here. Twice we have used it. Then self-generated goodwill is not
Recognized, shown.
own or recognized books. Self-generated goodwill is an dash generated goodwill which
Internally.
arises from Factors. Yes, internal factors. Thank you so much. The same kind of question can be done in the class by giving this game to the students, that is word scramble. I mean, we have just jumbled up the words in this case and then they can find out the answers given to those questions. Now, this is one question which I have included over here as a HOTS question. A partnership firm has decided to sell its entire business. Calculate goodwill for the following. Profits are given to us for 4 years. Then additional information is given to us. On 1st July, furniture costing 1 lakh was purchased and wrongly debited to repair account. So there is a mistake made over here. Depreciation on furniture was to be charged at 10% per annum with written down value method. Now important is that depreciation with the method which is adopted to calculate it. Goodwill is to be calculated at 2 years purchase of average profit for the last 3 years. We have to do the valuation of goodwill. Now here certain adjustments would be required to be done. For example, on 1st July, furniture was purchased. Now this is an asset which is purchased which had it was wrongly debited to repairs account. So repairs account, of course, we put them in the P&L accounts. So that is why it has to be adjusted. And the profit after adjustments would be 3,42,500. This will include the amount of depreciation that was to be charged on this furniture which is bought by us this year. Now here we will have to see that the duration for which the depreciation is charged is from 1st of July for that year. So in that way the adjustments have to be made. Now out of this 1 lakh, the amount of depreciation is first subtracted and then whatever value will be left, we will have to charge the depreciation on that. Now this is important to explain it in the class that yes, the students know exactly about the method for calculation of depreciation because we follow two methods, straight line method and written down value method. And many of the practice questions which we find in the books, normally the straight line method is given to us. So if the written down value method is given, it is asked in the question, the child has to prepare a working note for it and do the calculations correspondingly. Same way, the next year, the amount of depreciation would come to 8,325. Now, why this amount of depreciation is varying on solving the question, this has to be made clear for getting the value of goodwill. After making adjustments in the profits, we will get the total profit and we calculate average profit, and with that method of average profit into number of years purchased, we value the amount of goodwill. Under weighted average profit method, we need to follow the steps. Following steps are there. Multiply each year's profit with the respective number of weights, which in order to find out the value of total products. Then calculate weighted average profit, total of product of profits upon total of weights. Then calculate goodwill as weighted average profit into number of years purchased. Super profit. Now, this has to be understood by the students that why there is a difference between average or what is the difference between actual average profit or the normal profit which is earned by the firm. If I talk about the normal profits, then we need to just make this thing clear here that normal profits which the firm is making, that is because of the amount of capital employed by the firm. This is the main factor which is affecting the calculation of, or you can say, outcome of the normal profit in the whole business activity. But when we are talking about super profit, we are telling them that super profit is equal to average profit minus normal profit. But this super profit is occurring, or it is actually arising not because of the amount of capital employed, but it is actually because of the presence of goodwill of the firm. So this one basic concept, I mean, that should be made clear to the children, because they are just involved with this thing, this concept that we have to just calculate it, we have to make the adjustments and get the final amount for the answer. But this thing conceptually should be learned by the students, that why normal profit is a normal profit for us, what are actual profits or actual adjusted profits, and if we are earning more of average profits, actual average profits as compared to the normal profits, then only the super profit is possible for us to generate in the firm, or because of which the super profits are there in the firm. Now, average profits, for them we have studied the various adjustments which could be made while making the solution of the questions. Now here we can also elaborate this topic by giving them various cases when we give the certain amounts for average profit and normal profit. So in case if I say my normal profit is higher than the average profit, in that case super profit will not arise at all. Now this concept where I am saying that my normal profit could be higher than the actual average profit of the firm, this can be used in the case-based questions. I mean, this can be given as a case study where the whole information, the story is made, and I mean, the child has to derive the information from those sentences which are given in the question. So I mean, just learning the formula would not help the student over here. They will have to understand that why super profit is arising in the business, what is normal profit actually, and if normal profit is there, then we have to just make it clear, or generally we discuss it in the class, that what is the trend in the industry. That means with the same level of investment in the capital made by the other firms in the industry, how much profit or at what rate the profits are generated by them, that is a normal profit. And if our own firm is making it over and above something, this normal profit, we are going to lead with the super profit. So these kind of concepts must be made clear to them, so that in case these concepts are involved or added in the case study based questions, they can solve it and they can answer it. So for super profit method, these are the various steps where we first of all calculate the average actual profit, normal profit, which is as per the capital employed, which other firms are also earning in the industry. Then normal profits, for that we also need capital employed. Now here capital employed is also one important concept which needs to be understood by the students through asset approach and liabilities approach. Then normal rate of return upon 100. Super profit is equal to average profit minus normal profit, and the final value of goodwill is calculated as super profit into number of years purchased. Now, how to calculate capital employed? As per the asset side approach, it includes all assets except goodwill, non-trade investments, fictitious assets, minus your liabilities. So all assets which are not including these items have to be learned by the students so that they reach to the exact value of it. Now, while calculating total assets, do not include following items, which are like goodwill, deferred revenue expenditure. They are also mentioned on the asset side of the balance sheet sometimes. Even the previously, or you can say already existing goodwill is also there in the asset side sometimes in the balance sheet. Advertisement suspense, miscellaneous expenditure, or preliminary expenses and P&L account losses. These items are usually there in the balance sheet, but they are not to be included while calculating the capital employed. Under the liability side approach, we have capital plus reserves. Capital plus reserves minus goodwill if it is existing in the books, minus fictitious assets and non-trade investments. Now again, this is an important concept where we make the students clear about trade investments and non-trade investments. So unless investments are specified to be trade investments, they are taken as non-trade investments. That means we assume that automatically they are non-trade investments if the question is not specifying about it. So the concept of trade investments and non-trade investments says, trade investments are those investments that are made in another enterprise for furtherance of own business, and non-trade investments are those that are made to earn revenue by investing surplus funds. So that means we are trying to generate more and more revenues for our own firm. So this is one basic concept which is discussed at the time of capital employed calculation. Then these are two broadly categorized formulas, I think, which we can just put on one single, just present them in one single way. That capitalization of average profit will include market value of the firm, average profit upon normal rate of return into 100. Secondly, we calculate capital employed. We have to take care of certain elements or items while calculation of capital employed. Then third step is step 1 minus step 2, that will lead to the amount of goodwill. This is under the capitalization method of average profit. And capitalization of super profit will be super profit upon RRR into 100. Now super profit is equal to average profit minus normal profit in this case. Now this is one question included here. A, B and C are partners with capital of this much each. Balance appearing in the reserves as follows. Profit and loss account 1 lakh and general reserves 2 lakh. This together has formed 3 lakh rupees. New partner D is admitted in firm with capital of rupees 3 lakh. NRR is 10%. Average profit of the firm is 2 lakh. Find goodwill of the firm. Now market value of the firm we have checked with the amount of capital which is invested by the partners, that is 2 lakh rupees, into NRR upon 100. Upon NRR into 100. So that is a formula applied over here. Capital employed is 6 lakh plus 3 lakh. Now this is something which I want to discuss here with all of you. What should be the capital employed for us? I mean, amount for capital employed should be how much provided in this case. A, B and C are partners with capital of 2 lakh rupees each. 2 lakh rupees each will make it 6 lakh. D is admitted in firm with a capital of 3 lakh. And we have written capital employed is equal to 6 lakh plus 3 lakh. Now this solution which I am presenting to you, this is given by CBSE. But I want to discuss one point with all of you over here. Should this 3 lakh be included or not? Because D is still to be admitted in the firm. He is already not a partner in the firm. So any suggestions from your side?
Capital should be, ma'am, 2 into 3, 6 plus 3, 9 lakh.
Sir, my question is why we are including this 3 lakh?
3 lakh for reserve and P&L. That profit belongs to the old partners.
For reserve and P&L, sir, this 3 lakh is mentioned over here.
Yes.
So that is already mentioned here.
Okay.
My question is, should D's capital, who is going to be admitted in the firm, be included in the capital employed?
I think no, ma'am.
The answer should be no, because the D is already not a existingly not a partner in the firm. But this solution from where I have picked up, this is given by CBSE. So that is why
Hello.
I just wanted to discuss this question with you. Yes, sir.
Madam, I think, when we are doing valuation of goodwill,
Yes,
we
sir.
keep future in the mind, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, keeping future aspects in the mind, then whatever capital will be there in the future,
Okay.
that should be taken into account. That is why it has been included.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Right.
Ma'am, I would like to add one more thing here.
Yes, sir.
So at the time of admission, goodwill is to be valued in order to provide compensation by gaining partner to sacrificing partner. The valuation of goodwill is to be done on that purpose.
Yes,
So
sir.
here, at the time of admission, what is the real status of a partnership firm?
Okay.
Basically, there is a confusion. Confusion happens when the valuation of goodwill says at the date of admission, yeah, after the date of admission, because there was a question earlier in the textbook also, which was clearly before the date of admission and after the date of admission. After the date of admission, definitely it is going to be included, and on the date of admission, before the date of admission, we should not taken care of this thing. But when we are considering admission, and it says already admitted in the form. You can see the last line, new partner D is admitted in the firm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
तो ये
Yes,
तो
sir.
admit हो गया ना इसके अंदर अब.
All right, sir.
तो capital
But still,
employed.
ma'am, I would like to differ here because at the time of admission, we have to see that new partner when coming in the firm, then what was the goodwill? So if we are going to include his capital, then how it is going to make a justice there?
No, but one reason already given here is that we calculate goodwill from future's point of view. No? We are evaluating it with that mindset.
No, ma'am. We are considering existing capital and मतलब projected capital on the basis of a new part. That is why we do capital adjustment वैसा वाला. But that is not relevant here.
Yes, sir.
In that case, ma'am, my query would be that suppose if we are going to follow the super profit method, whether we are going to include the capital of new partner in the capital employed for calculating normal profit.
Sir, you know, my only point was when we calculate normal profits now, so we calculate these, you know, we can calculate average maintainable profit for valuation of goodwill, right? What is the purpose of, you know, using average maintainable profits? That, you know, what will happen in future if in future there is a future expense that needs to be adjusted to average profits. Similarly, you know, if we have to take the capital, we are doing valuation of goodwill. So if we have to take the capital, then in my opinion, then we should consider this you know, this also becomes a part of capital structure at that time. Therefore, it should be taken into account. Because valuation of goodwill is, you know, what benefit you are going to get in the future.
All right, sir. I think we have discussed this point over here. Can I move to the next slide now? Next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Now here in this question, total assets are given to us, liabilities, bank loan, general reserve, minimum rate return, that is normal rate of return, return on investment. Now this is a question where general reserves are mentioned to us, and we have to just calculate the value of capital employed first. So in that case, I mean, this is a question which can confuse the students, that why this amount of general reserve has not been put for the valuation of capital employed. That is why I had picked up this question. So I'm just moving quickly with the slides now. Another topic which was to be taken here is reconstitution of partnership. So, of course, the reconstitution is it's changing the economic relationships amongst the partners. So, during making the calculations for this, we are considering the change in profit sharing ratio amongst the existing partners. Then partners is admitted, or partner retires, dies, or in the case of amalgamation. Now, we are calculating sacrificing ratio and gaining ratio for making the calculations, and goodwill is valued, adjusted by crediting sacrificing partners and debiting gaining partners. So what needs to be learned here is that who is sacrificing and who is gaining. The formula for that is elaborated to the students, which we generally get with old profit share minus new profit share. Then new minus old is positive answer, then of course it's a gain. And why this is to be computed? It is computed to compensate the sacrificing partner, or the sacrifice which is made by the gaining partner for the share gained. Now, sacrificing ratio and gaining ratio, they may be given in the question, or they may have to be calculated. New profit sharing ratio is given, or new profit sharing ratio is not given. These are the two set of questions which we get while solving the practical questions. So old minus new will give us the new profit sharing ratio, which helps in calculating the sacrificing ratio also. And it is in net profit sharing ratio is not given to us. It is presumed that old partners have sacrificed in their old profit sharing ratio. This is something which we repeatedly tell in the class, that if old partners ratio and new partners share is given, then sacrificing ratio for the partners remains the same, which is their old profit sharing ratio. Existing goodwill, if it is there in the books, that is always written off. And how do we calculate the share of gaining partner? Value of goodwill into the gained profit share. So we check the share which is gained by a partner who is They presently they are in the firm, and on the change in profit sharing ratio, he is gaining out of it. Gaining partner may bring his or her share in the premium of goodwill, or it may be debited to his capital or current account. Now, this thing we already discussed. We generally discuss also in the class that we follow two methods: fixed capital method and the fluctuating capital method. So, in the case of fluctuating, we pass the entries with capital account. In case of fixed, we pass the entries with current account. Sacrificing partners' capital accounts are credited by their respective share in premium for goodwill in their sacrificing ratios. And distribution of reserves, accumulated profits and losses. Now, why this is important to do the distribution of them, because for the period prior to profit sharing ratio change, the accumulations were belonging to these partners only. So similarly, in the case of accumulated losses, they would be debited to the partner's capital account. They have to bear the losses, and that is why it is debited to the partner's capital account or current account. And in the case of accumulated profits, they are credited to the partner's capital or current accounts. Now, in case the partners decide to retain balances in the books of accounts, in that case, the net effect of reserves, accumulated profits and losses is determined. We find out the total value related to it, and it is debited and credited to gaining and sacrificing partners respectively. That means we pass the basic journal entry, that is gaining partners capital account debit to sacrificing partners in the ratio in which they are gaining or sacrificing. Entries related to workmen's compensation reserve. In this, we also discussed the cases where liability does not exist, then transfer reserves to partners in their old profit sharing ratio. Workmen's compensation reserve debited to all partners' capital in their old profit sharing ratio. If liability is a part of reserve, then transfer reserve up to the liability of workmen's compensation claim and balance to partners in their old profit sharing ratio. The entry is workmen's compensation reserve debited to workmen's compensation claim to partners' capital account. Transfer liability is up to the reserves, then transfer reserve to the complete amount of claim, and the entry is workmen's compensation reserve account debited to workmen's compensation claim. Liability is more than reserve, then transfer reserve to workmen's compensation claim, and amount of liability in excess of reserve is debited to revaluation account crediting workmen's compensation claim account. So this is the entry for that. Workmen's compensation reserve debit, revaluation debit to workmen's compensation claim. Now here my claim was higher as compared to the reserve which was there maintained by me. Suppose the claim is for 15,000 rupees and workmen's compensation reserve was only for 10,000. So the amount which is balancing would be taken from the revaluation account. It will be debited to the revaluation account. Neeti ma'am, do we have time or we are over with the time?
Manisham, 3 minutes left.
3 minutes are there. Okay. Ma'am, I had to discuss one point related to the change in PSR. I mean, it's a common mistake generally which is made by the students. Many a times we are getting the assignments from different books in which the language actually confuses the students. So I would like to discuss that point over here. It's taking time to open. Yes. Yes, a small, small piece of information which I would like to share with you. In the case of changing profit sharing ratios, whether the addition is happening or the ratio is changing amongst the partners itself, it's given in the question generally that A will sacrifice 1/10 from his share and balance will be sacrificed by B. Find new PSR. Then there is similar to this, a bit of change in the language.
Meanwhile, I'm just sharing the feedback link. All are requested to please fill the feedback link and mention in the chat window filled and your name. Thank you.
From his share, and balance, rest of the information remains same. Another point is A will sacrifice 1/10 of his share, and balance will be sacrificed by B. Then here it says A will sacrifice 1/10 1/10 of his share, and balance by B. Now, suppose question is about A and B. We have two partners, and C has come for 1/5 share. Now, in this case, A will sacrifice 1/10 from his share, and A will sacrifice 1/10th of his share. Then here he will sacrifice 1/10 from his share and 1/10 of his share. So I would like to ask you, which of the languages are correctly said in the questions? If you could just give your inputs. Well, I would like to elaborate over here that A will sacrifice 1/10 from his share. This is the right language used in the question. And in these two cases, where the question is mentioning A will sacrifice 1/10th from his share, and 1/10 of his 1/10 of his share, these two are wrongly mentioned. So here we need to tell the students that 1/10th of his share is there, then we need to multiply the share with the total amount into whatever total amount is there into 1/10, and here the amount is 1/10 from his share, so the amount of share will be subtracted, which will be contributed by him. Now these two languages of the question, which says that A will sacrifice 1/10 from his share, is generally a wrongly used notion. The way they are presenting the question confuses the students. Similarly here also, A will sacrifice 1/10 of his share. This was the last thing I wanted to elaborate over here. Thank you so much for your contribution and attending this workshop.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
All are requested to please fill the feedback form and mention in the chat window. Thank you, ma'am, for very analytical yet interactive session.
Most welcome, ma'am.
To summarize the takeaways for the session, it is actually great use of activities like word wall activities, word scramble, and fill-ups for better clarity and retention among students. Thank you for sharing those activities. And thanks for even sharing that how to handle case-based questions. And actually, ma'am, you took each and every aspect of the chapter fundamentals as per how it is to be covered as per CBSE in a very short span of time, and also gave clarity on concepts like trade and non-trade investments. And we actually would like to express our gratitude to Manisha ma'am for sparing her valuable time and guiding us with her expertise. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Most welcome, ma'am. I would like to thank all of you also, because I'm learning from all of you.
thank you, Manisha madam, especially for the activities. Those are all very
Thanks.
interesting activities,
Most
and they will
welcome, sir.
definitely give benefit to all of us.
And ma'am, your PPTs were really good.
Thank you,
PPTs
sir.
were, yeah,
Yes.
you must have put a lot of effort in that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
It is very comprehensive, ma'am. You try to incorporate so many things. So
Yes, sir.
it's wonderful.
And we will be greedy, ma'am, if you can share it.
Sir, it's shared with Neeti ma'am.
Oh,
Is there
okay.
with you?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
So I think we can put it on our common where we have meetings for syllabus discussion. In that, if everyone
Yes.
agrees.
Yes. I'll put it there.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's meet again in 25 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. Please fill the
Thank
feedback.
you. Thank you, Nidhi ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Please fill the feedback form. All of you, it's compulsory.